All right, Champ Bailey is here, NFL legend. He's here with Positive Athlete. We're going to get to that. What's going on, man?
Not much, man. Just making my rounds, you know.
I'm going to start here. Give me something about, we'll start with the Chiefs. Give me something about the Chiefs defense that impresses you in this game. We're just, like, in a million years, I'm not going to figure it out. I don't know ball like you do. What did the Chiefs defense do to become elite the last few years?
I think it's their coach.
Yeah.
Spags is like, I mean, he's a genius.
Yeah.
And, you know, anybody who hear me talk a lot about defense, I'm always going to talk about how smart the defensive coaches are.
Yeah.
And he is the cream of the crop. There's no, it's not a fluke that he's won Super Bowls in the past, right? So, I mean, that's where it starts. But now having the right talent, Chris Jones of the world, I mean, they got the right talent. But again, man, it starts with the leader. You know, he's one of the best.
Yep, I completely agree with that.
Yeah.
On the Eagles side, it's a lot of Georgia guys.
Damn right.
Explain to me, so I always thought the way Kirby recruits the NFL bodies, the way he doesn't deviate from height, weight, speed standards, like you're going to get a lot of NFL guys from there.
Yeah.
It seems like this whole thing is working. Jalen Carter is unbelievable. We had Gerald McCoy on 2 days ago. He was talking about how Nolan Smith's actually the key because of the way he manipulates the guards. But explain to me why these Georgia guys are popping in the league, especially in Philadelphia.
You know, it's unfortunate the hometown Falcons hadn't got on board with this, but, you know, it's it's one of those things, man. We always have a lot of talent. And if you could see lately, I think Kirby's experience in the league and, you know, what he, you know, values as far as the interior of a defense and offense, that's really what it boils down to, man. You always going to have the most elite defensive linemen come to Georgia just because of who Kirby is. And then
what the state of Georgia is.
Yeah, then you watch Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter and how they excel. It's just going to make more guys want to come. So it's no surprise to me. I know in Philly, they're all excelling because I feel like they got comfortable very fast. So whatever they're doing on a weekly basis for these guys look comfortable. They don't look like they missed a beat coming from college. I'm just happy to see us a bunch of us out there.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. By the way, you mentioned the Falcons thing. I grew up in Florida, and they used to say, like, if the Dolphins for 20 years just took the best Miami Hurricane available in every draft.
Right down the street.
Just do it. Just take Calais Campbell. Just don't overthink it. Just take like every single year. Ed Reed, all those guys. Just get them in Miami. It's okay. You don't have to overthink this.
Because to be honest, like it's inspiring to play for your home team. Like the team you grew up watching or you right down the street. Guys want to play for that team. So take advantage of it.
Completely agree. Like those types of practice, when you get 1 million 5 stars like Georgia does now, you've obviously been in practices like that. But like, what is it that produces NFL players when it's best on best? When it's, you know, Jalen Carter in his sophomore year going against an NFL offensive line. Explain kind of how iron sharpens iron like that.
I mean, that's always been the thing. You know, and you mentioned Miami. You go back to those days when they were stacked. That's really how they got better. They kept pushing each other. And I was just talking to Ed Reed about this, about how he couldn't leave the field because he had Sean Taylor and those guys behind him. I'm like, dang, that makes sense. You know, so it's always what you want on your team, guys that are going to make you better as a player.
Yeah. Who's the best cornerback in the NFL right now?
Pat Surtain, easily.
Explain what makes him so good.
He's a technician. I think one stat that stuck out to me from this year is he missed no tackles.
Yeah.
People got to understand how hard it is for a corner not to miss a tackle. Most of your tackles are going to be in open field against some of the best athletes in the world, and you get them down every time. That's super impressive. Forget the interceptions, the breakups, the touchdown. Forget that. Not missing a tackle at corner. Tell me another corner that did that.
It's unbelievable.
It's unbelievable.
So
he better win this Defensive Player of the Year this year. So.
I'm very good friends with Dominique Foxworth, and he used to say he was a great tackler. And then we looked it up, and he was like 5th one year in missed tackles, and I never let him forget it. I say, just some years at a cornerback, you just
they keep a record of that. I didn't even know back then.
I'm sure you did fine. I'm sure you did good. I'm sure you're all right.
My share, but not more than he did.
We're pro Dominique Foxworth.
Yeah, that's my guy.
We're all good.
Love him to death.
We're also at Omaha pro Peyton Manning. When Peyton Manning gets to Denver, you're obviously already a star. You know so much ball at that point. But what was Peyton Manning like when he comes into that locker room, and just sort of give me a story on how that all grew.
Yeah, business. You know, he was serious about his work. You know, I think when you're at that point in your career where I was, you got to think I think I played 2 years with Peyton, so I was in my second to last year. So writing's on the wall a little bit for me. You still want to learn how to be a great leader.
Yeah.
Like, as long as I'm in that building, I'm just soaking up information. So to have a tremendous leader like that enter the building, I was just trying to soak up what it meant to be a leader to him and try to use some of that in my game. So for me, it was great because although we had success with the Broncos, we never got to the big game. Yeah. And fortunate enough for me, we were able to get there. Didn't win it when I was there, but we got there, and he gave us that shot. And that's all you can ask for. I mean, the dude's a winner.
Yeah, absolutely. We do something called Badasses, which is the most badass person you ever played with in football. Any of your stops, could be college. Played with, could be in college, could be in pros. Most of these guys are in pros, but it's the biggest badass, biggest football guy, whatever you want to call it, that you played with at any point. You have the floor.
You know, I'm going to say Elvis Dumervil.
Oh.
And it wasn't that he talked a lot or was pounding on his chest, but he was undersized and he was a beast.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we lost him.
Yeah.
You know, around that same time Peyton showed up. Man, I just wish he could have stuck around because I was just seeing him turn that corner, becoming an elite pass rusher in the league. I mean, he'd already been great. It's just now you see him become that vet that people respect around the league. I got to give it to Elvis.
It's amazing. We do something called Rock Bottom Theater. Worst game you ever played it. Like, game you just wish you could erase from your memory, whether it's a blowout or you got personally, beaten by a receiver. What are you going with?
I'm going to say snow game against the Raiders. Man, that was probably the worst game I ever played. And I can contribute a lot of that to the snow because it's hard for a corner in the snow. But, again, there was no reason I should be giving up touchdowns. And I gave up maybe 2 or 3 in that game. I was like, oh, my God. So it was a long ride home from the stadium, and it was at home. So it's just one of those things, man. It happens. But that's the life of a corner. You're going to have moments like that. Funny thing is, I erased it and had one of the best seasons.
Every good cornerback, that's what you do. Every good cornerback.
Man, you have to. But that's those wake-up calls you kind of need sometimes to kind of get you back on track.
Yeah, last thing before we get to what you're doing with Positive Athlete. Best receiver you ever played against?
Complete receiver, I would say T.O. Wow. When I think about who I played against, I mean, you could put Randy Moss up there as one of the best, obviously. But who gave me problems was T.O. because he was so good when he got the ball in his hands. And I remember missing a tackle, and him going 90 yards for a touchdown. Just one of those games, man. And then, he definitely deserved to be a Hall of Famer, gold jacket like myself. Definitely a tough guy, tough opponent. Yeah. Even when he was with the 49ers, he was hell. So one of the best ever.
Tell me what you're doing with Positive Athlete.
Well, Positive Athlete it's a recognition platform. So what we do is we recognize the 90+% athletes that probably won't go to the next level. And we highlight their character, their hard work, their accountability, all the good things that they're doing in the community, and just try to shine a light on that. It's very inspiring to others. So that's really what it boils down to. But what ends up happening on the flip side is you accumulate a database of all these athletes that now employers want to employ. So for any business that wants to hire tough, hard workers, accountable people, there's usually athletes. And when you learn all these traits, what do you contribute to? It's life after football. So when you learn all this, we got to be able to translate it or transfer it to something else. We all do it. I've done it, although I did it at 35 when I retired. Yeah. These people might do it when they're 18, 19. So giving them the resources and the opportunity to really grab onto a good company or learn some leadership skills. That's what it's all about. So people can nominate athletes all across the country. Go to positiveathlete.org, hit nominate, takes about 5 minutes. Any coach, parent, anybody can nominate an athlete. You just pick the ones you want. There's no limit. So the more that we have, the better, because now we can recognize them for all the work they're doing.
Champ Baylor, thanks so much, man.
Man, thanks, Kevin.